Hi, it's Filo. Today I'm updating my reading journal with the books I read in April and the beginning of May. The first one is Death of a Perfect Wife by MC Beaton from the UK. It's a cozy mystery set in a small village in Scotland where a quote-unquote perfect wife tries to reform their lifestyle. But hey, she dies. So we follow the constable or policeman Hamish Macbeth, who's trying not only to investigate the death of the perfect wife, but also to keep the peace in his village while trying to win a girl's heart. It's the fourth book in the series Hamish Macbeth, but they're independent mysteries, so you really don't need to read them in order or whatever, except probably if you're very invested in Macbeth's sentimental life, which I wasn't really. So this was my first MC Beaton, and I didn't feel I needed any backstory. The mystery was okay, nothing groundbreaking, but a few decent red herrings. And there was a big part of social commentary, as the title hints. Here, Beaton's intention is to explore social pressure with a good helping of satire. This is set in the 80s, so it's especially about the perfection expected from housewives, as well as the crushing ambition expected from men. So it's all tongue-in-cheek and satirically subversive. All in all, it's a decent cozy mystery. It's a pretty light read, quick and entertaining. I read it in a couple of days and it was fine, but I didn't feel that invested with the characters, so I'm not really planning on reading more books in this series. But I've heard her other series, Agatha Raisin, is more popular, so tell me if you've read it. Next book was Unwind by Neil Shusterman from the US. Last year I read the series Arc of a Scythe and I really enjoyed it, and I saw he had written another famous sci-fi series, so I wanted to give it a go. I went in without knowing much, but here is the premise. After a civil war fought over reproductive rights, the peace accord is that between ages 13 and 18, any child can be unwound, meaning that all of the child's organs are transplanted into different donors, so life doesn't technically end. Unsettling, right? The story follows mainly 3 children sentenced to be unwound and their adventures trying to escape and overthrow this agreement, so you're immediately thrown into it with very high stakes. I was very invested. You have good and bad people on all sides, a lot of obstacles, and it's very fast-paced. As any dystopian sci-fi, it explores desolate future societies where scientific advancements reinforce negative aspects and their potential dangers, and where a group fights oppression and social decline. And Neil Shusterman is pretty good at it. He puts everyone on a deeply uncomfortable but common ground. Risky, but also smart. Here he explores important questions about life and choice, organ donation, scientific research, propaganda, and social apathy. On this page, I used 2 wooden fountain pens that were kindly sent to me by Ellington Pen, and they come with their matching wooden cases. This rosewood fountain pen I filled with the Lantern Crossing ink from Ferris Wheel Press, and the other fountain pen you already know, it's the Maplewood fountain pen, and that one I filled with the Gossiping Grapevine ink, also from Ferris Wheel Press. But back to the book. I did read the second installment, which is titled Unwholly, and I'll be setting up the page quickly here, and I have my thoughts. On one hand, I like that Shusterman writes for young adults and never treats them like fools, So just like in Scythe, he does not feed you answers. He makes the reader think about ethical issues by pushing everything to the extreme to shift your point of view and explore the limits. So it's interesting, but in Unwind it feels more young adult than Scythe, and the structure of the story is so similar. Scythe felt more mature, and I think it's well written, whereas you can tell Unwind was written earlier and it's mostly centered around the action, and it's a series of 5 books. So I still don't know if I'll read the other 3 books. It seems like a lot and it's too similar to Scythe, but I'm also curious, so it may be my guilty pleasure this summer. I don't know. And the 4th book I read was East of Eden by John Steinbeck, also from the US. I read Of Mice and Men and The Pearl in the past years, and I'm a huge fan of Steinbeck's writing, so I wanted to read what he considered to be his magnum opus. Here the story revolves around 2 families, the Trask and the Hamilton, who will helplessly replay the fall of Adam and Eve and the murderous rivalry of Cain and Abel. So it's a modern retelling of the Genesis through a family saga at the turn of the 20th century. And I was very surprised because it's clear it's a masterpiece from the start, but it's also so readable and captivating. I loved how intentional and smart it is, how symbolic and clearly understandable it is for anyone, because Steinbeck tells a story like no other, but he also describes landscapes like no other, and in East of Eden, he also intertwines the story with brief non-fiction chapters to tackle social issues in his historical context, like war, the loss of values, the loss of individuality and creativity, and what it means to be free. And much of that is so true today and so relevant. I was also happy to discover that the story incorporates autobiographical elements, with the Hamilton being his maternal family and the whole background being the Salinas Valley where he grew up. But most of all, Steinbeck really knows how to create strong characters who cover everything from good to pure evil and all in between. At some points, I had to close the book and look it from afar, like, what just happened? What do I do? So yeah, some are probably going to haunt you, but some are going to become maybe a model to look up to at some points. This book was definitely a new favorite. I have no doubt I'll reread it. And then I heard from Caroline Mary Reeds that Steinbeck wrote East of Eden on the right pages of a notebook, and on the left pages he wrote to his editor about what he wanted to convey through the story and his writing process. And these letters are published under the title Journal of a Novel, The East of Eden Letters. And there's nothing I want to read more than that right now. Okay, so here I had to set up another spread because there was no way I could fit all my thoughts on one page. But in the end, I filled 3 spreads, but on the third I just wrote, and it's full of spoilers, so I'll spare you that. And these are the 4 books I read since last time. Did you read one of them? What did you think? Everything I read was in English, so now I've started books from other countries, and I'll be happy to read your recommendations in the comments. If you've made it till the end, leave me this emoji. If something caught your eye, you know everything I use is always linked down below with my discount codes under the timestamp of each book. And if you enjoy my reviews or these pages, don't forget to like and subscribe so that this video can reach more readers like you. I'll see you soon with another video, and until then, enjoy reading!